So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about an overview of the rent-to-rent strategy and what it is in a nutshell. So in a nutshell, firstly, there are lots of different types of properties in the whole UK. So there are C3, which is basically the planning use for a normal residential house. You've got things like warehouses, you've got things like shops, they all have a certain planning use. Everything's got a code. So the houses that we want are what we call C4, and the C4 is a HMO. What does a HMO stand for? HMO stands for House of Multiple Occupancy. It just means a shared house. That's it. So we want these houses, shared houses, C4 planning use, and generally we want the 5 rooms or more. It can be done with less, but in this video I'm going to focus on 5 rooms or more. The ones which are 5 rooms or more, there is a HMO register by the council, provided by the council, normally free of charge. Sometimes it's about £50, but it's relatively cheap. And you can get that registered. You can see all the C4 HMOs in your council area on that list on their website. And sometimes there's 1,000, sometimes there's 2,000, sometimes there's a lot less. So you get that register, and then you can send a letter to all these landlords. You can, when you meet these landlords, you can do a deal with them, and there's 101 different reasons why you could do a deal with a landlord. So I'll mention a few at the end. So step one is you found a C4 HMO shared house of multiple occupancy, and you're meeting the landlord. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is that now you do a deal with the landlord. Okay, so you've met the landlord, now you do a deal with the landlord. So the step one was really the sourcing part, finding that HMO, finding that landlord. Step two was you do the deal. Okay, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of how to do the deal here, but we'll talk about a few examples why they might want your service. So step three is that then you refurbish their property, you paint and decorate it. You're not going to do it yourself, you're going to get someone to do it, of course, but we paint and decorate their house. We take it up a level, and then we furnish it as well. So I'm going to include that in the same thing. We furnish it, we paint, decorate it, and it's fully ready. We then, step four, we then tenant the property with our type of tenant, whichever your type is. In the next videos, I will explain the 5 types of tenants that there are. There may be more, but these are 5 types, and everyone can fit into one of those 5. So you tenant the property with your type of tenant, your niche. Once you've done that, you will also pay the bills. Okay, you can set up the bills anytime. Generally, the sooner the better. You pay the bills, and so you've got rent coming in from the tenants. You pay the bills of the house, and you pay the landlord a guaranteed rent. Guaranteed rent means even if there's no tenants, you will still pay that landlord. So the risk of is upon us. The risk of voids, of not having tenants in the house, is upon us. But that's one of the main reasons why landlords want to work with guaranteed rent providers. Is empty house, they still get paid, and we still have to pay the bills because we pay the bills. Now you might be thinking, oh my god, that's quite risky on us, but really, if you have done your research in the right area, and you know that there's a demand for that type of tenant, then it minimizes the risk almost completely. So, and if you get the right type of tenants in, the best type of tenants, they always pay, and they pay in advance, then you also minimize the risk. So there's lots of ways of taking away the risk for yourself, and the landlords won't always be aware of these things. They might not be doing them. So those are the steps in general. What you will be left with is the profit margin on top. So you pay the landlord the guaranteed rent, you pay the bills, and then the tenants are paying you all their rent, and in their rent the bills are included, so they don't have to pay for any bills. You're then left with nice profit margin, and that profit margin is approximately around the £600 region plus. So it can be around 600, it can be more, it can be less if there's less of a refurb to do to the house, but generally the 600 region is the figure. Now imagine you've got 4 HMOs, so 600 times 4 is 2,400. You could now be making a passive income of 2,400 every month, because one HMO, once the tenants are in, the job is done. There's only then maintenance work for you to do. Each month you'll put a little bit of money aside for any maintenance. Maintenance just means one-off small repairs and things. We'll have cover for almost everything, like the fridge, freezer, washing machines, and boiler, and all these things. There'll be cover for them. So if there's ever anything needed, either the landlord's paying for it, you're paying for it. You could do a deal on that, but they will come out and fix those things. So most of the time, it's just a phone call. You don't have to go yourself and do these things, or you can get a handyman, and they're very cheap, and they'll fix this and that. So once the tenants are in, it's generally just small maintenance things, and there's no major things. If you get bad tenants, then yes, you're going to put in more time, more effort dealing with those. But if you have good tenants and you check them properly, you take a last month's rent, and so on, you have a good niche, then you will make sure that you've got, it systemized, and then you can take another and another and another. So in a nutshell, step one is finding the C4 HMOs, shared houses. That's step one. Step two is doing the deal with the landlord. Step three is then refurbishing and furnishing the house. Step four is then tenanting the house, and the job is then done. You're now making this passive profit from this property per month. Let me give you some figures so that you've got some figures to work with. For a 5-bed HMO in the area where northwest, let's say, of England, we'd look around £1,200, in that range. Of course, it varies area to area, deal to deal. Let's just say 1,200. One of my own deals was like this when I first started. 1,200 to the landlord. The rent, the bills are always around the 400 range for a 5-bed. So let's just say £400. It was actually less, but 400. So we've got £1,600 expense. The income that was coming in was about 500 to 550 per room. So let's just say 500, easy numbers. So 500 times 5, 2,500. Take away the 1,600, we're left with a £900 profit. So that is what's possible. But that property took, I spent, let's just say £6,000 on it for easy numbers. It was a little bit more, but £6,000, and that was my first one. So I spent more than what I would have liked to. So £6,000, 900, 6,000 divided by 900. That's how many months it's going to take me to make that money back. So what is that? That's approximately 6.5-ish months, 7 months. So after 7 months, our target is 6 months. After 6 months, we've made all our money back. After that is pure profit. Of course, if there's no voids. So that is the model. You invest a little bit of money in to the refurb, but you want to make your money back within 6 months. After that is pure profit, and it's passive. So let's talk about some questions. Why will the landlord go to a rent-to-rent provider over anyone else, like over a normal letting agent? Well, number one, you offer a guaranteed rent. Okay, that means if there's voids, you're still going to pay them. So number two, the risk of tenanting is on you, not on them. Number three, you're going to refurbish their house, which normal letting agents will not do. They only get paid 10% of the rent, of the gross rent. That's all they get paid. They don't, refurbish houses. So that's something a lot of letting agents don't do. We refurbish the house with our own time and our own money. Okay, number four, we pay the bills. Normal letting agents, the landlord sometimes has to pay the bills, and the letting agent will only take the 10% from their rent. Some letting agents may manage the bills, but they will deduct the bills and then pay the landlord. So, but in order to pay the bills, they might charge them more. So we just pay the bills as a generic thing that we always do. So number four, we pay the bills, we manage them as well. And then some reasons for landlords. One landlord might live very far from the property. The property might be like 100 miles away from where they live. They don't want to travel and take care of this property, so they want to give it to someone else. They want to forget about it. Another reason a landlord will want to work with us is they might be in a full-time career, full-time job. So they're in their full-time career. They don't want anything to do with property. They haven't got the time for it. So, and the next reason, so we've got seventh reason now, is they might be ill. They might have an illness. Number 8, they might be taking care of someone who has an illness. And I know a landlord who is taking care of his wife who had a stroke, and he's the landlord, so he's a carer. So there's number 8. Number 9, they might have just inherited the property. and they don't want anything to do with the property. They just want, okay, I've inherited this, I don't want anything to do with that, I just want to make money, so they give it over to someone. And number 10, they might just hate property. They might just not enjoy having tenants and dealing with maintenance work, and they just don't like it, and they just want the headache free. So there are many, many, many landlords out there who have properties, who don't want to deal with it, and they just want someone else. They're happy for you to make money because, of course, you're not going to do it for free. But if you learn how to do it in such a way that it becomes systemized, then it becomes passive for you. And that's what, we teach in this program. So in the next videos, I'm going to talk about what is Article 4, what is the C4 planning use, what are the 5 types of tenants. We'll talk a little bit more about these things that I've briefly mentioned here, but this was just a nice overview of what rent to rent is. And why is it called rent to rent? Because we're renting from them in order to rent to others. One thing I must say is that it's not subletting. Subletting is when